Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from worldwide. I'm Sterling. It's great to have you back on the channel. This show is being recorded on Saturday, the 4th of October, 2025, and then posted to all media channels on Sunday, October 5th, 2025. As always, these shows are provided for entertainment purposes only. All the information I share with you comes real time. Through my guides, angels, extend spiritual counsel, ETs, famous people from history, so for entertainment purposes only. Also, if you'd like to join our YouTube Platinum membership and take part in live streams I do on Friday mornings, Pacific time zone, you can join our Platinum membership. The join button is on the front page of the YouTube channel, Sterling Psychic Medium, as well as the website, sterlingpsychicmedium.com. If you're new to the channel, just a real quick footnote, we gather questions for these shows from our YouTube channel under the post section, okay? Under the post section, the office puts out a request for questions on Mondays. They then shut that down about Thursday or Friday. My wife then goes through them and comes up with a representative sample of questions that I answer for you real time here. I think this week we had between 600 and 700 questions. And for today's show, we're going to answer 72 questions as a countdown. So without any further delay, let's get going on today's show. 72. Jane Goodall passed away earlier this week. Does she have anything she would like to share with the world? Now, I was advised this question up front was on the show, so this morning I brought Jane through. I took some notes. I'm going to read those back to you right now. I simply want humanity to respect all animals and everything they teach us because in many ways they are much more advanced than humans in the way they treat the world and each other. Animals come from a sincere place of love, and humans can learn a great deal from this. I want my passing to represent a meaningful change in the world so that everyone wakes up to what humanity is doing to each other as well as the earth. I will be watching closely from the other side. I feel blessed and empowered that I was able to save thousands of animals during my career and at the same time educate the world on many species, making a significant contribution to worldwide organizations that will continue this valuable work into the future. I thoroughly enjoyed the process of and publication of dozens of books, as well as contributions to projects like consulting on Disney's Animal Kingdom, bringing enjoyment to thousands of families. I am now grateful to join family and friends on the other side that I've missed in this life, and look forward to others walking in my shoes, making a difference and continuing my life's work. Thank you. So a wonderful person, a wonderful benevolent spirit, and I'm happy to share those messages with you from Jane Goodall. 71, the countdown. The six media companies known as the Big Six control most of corporate media in the U.S., including the approved acquisition of TikTok's U.S. operations from parent company ByteDance by Michael Dell, Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison, Lachlan and Rupert Murdoch, as well as a group of investors. Will these companies be broken up in the near future by the antitrust laws, also known as anti-monopoly laws? Well, the Big Six are Disney, Comcast, Warner Brothers Discovery, Paramount Global, News Corp, Fox, and Sony, right? Yeah. But no, I don't see them broken up. I actually see them maintaining this kind of stable Big Six platform for at least another decade. So there'll be some new AI tools put into the global media platform, if you will, so that the truth will come out much faster, that there'll be a lot of real-time fact checking and a lot of people concerned with all the media being controlled. But it looks like these six major companies we just talked about here are really going to stay in place at least another decade in kind of this form. 70, do all beings in the universe reincarnate over many lifetimes like humans? What about interdimensional beings or angels? So angels do not reincarnate. They're actually in kind of in a pure form. They are interdimensional beings. They can move between dimensions, heaven dimension, other galaxies, earth dimension, as many have experienced. Guides, on the other hand, are individuals that walk the planet, walk the earth. They've gone through thousands of reincarnations. So they actually do reincarnate as well as Homo sapiens sapiens. So, and ETs do, actually, extraterrestrial species do reincarnate as well. By the way, quick footnote, the average lifespan of an extraterrestrial is about 400 Earth years. 69, high Sterling and team, vaginal atrophy, or more broadly, genitourinary syndrome, affects between 50% and 85% of menopausal women and can be quite debilitating. Does your team see any upcoming innovative treatments for this problem? I see advances in hormone-related therapy in this condition. I'm not a doctor, but they're showing me hormone-related advances using genetic engineering by about the year 2030. So it looks like only about 5 years out, there's some like major advances going on here, but it looks very focused on hormones to me. And again, not a doctor, but it's coming. Okay, 68 in the countdown. I just read an article that the government shutdown was planned by the 45 administration officials in order to purge more personnel from federal agencies' payroll. Is this true, and what will be the outcome? I do see this as part of the back end planning that if they could make all this happen and create this chaos, that it would help them and the back end layoff federal employees. I see this is going to affect something like 5% to 8% of federal employees. But then eventually, as we get back out into early 2026, a lot of these employees will get rehired because of expertise required, even getting their same jobs back. So yeah, I do see this as it'll be like a boomerang effect. 67, hello, Sterling and team. Are there pet angels that help us communicate with our animals here on Earth? Not necessarily pet angels. Remember, animals are very connected to the other side, but it's our guides and angels that facilitate that communication with their guides and angels. So, not necessarily pet angels per se, but guides and angels that are assigned to pets, just to be maybe more specific. 66, this week, the 45 administration cut $8 million in 2026 fiscal year funding from Chicago Public Schools, or CPS, Magnet Schools Assistance Program, because they did not abolish the Black Student Success Plan and the district didn't ban transgender programs. Do you see this being restored to Chicago Public Schools anytime soon? Yeah, it looks like this by the second quarter of 2026, these funds will be restored. So it looks like there's also some sort of, I don't know, overall president or superintendent of the schools. They're going to pursue a lawsuit on this. Lawsuit will be successful. And then by second quarter 2026, might be a little bit earlier, the funds end up coming back or getting released. 65. How long do you see the conservative stranglehold on our media lasting? For example, Sinclair owns multiple station groups in a single market. Well, here again, and we're talking about like the grip on a lot of like, the big six media companies, and then the tentacles go out very far into broadcast groups. But it looks like, for a good decade, we're going to have kind of the stranglehold on media. But what's interesting is that within a year or two here, a lot of AI technology will be integrated into media overall, and it's going to help with what they call, real-time fact checking. So who's ever talking, politician or otherwise, you won't be able to lie outright because real-time fact checking, it'll happen in a couple of nanoseconds. The result will be displayed on the screen. So, yes, I mean, it looks like that, large station groups are still going to have a stranglehold. It won't kind of release itself for another like decade or 10 years, but AI is going to help. 64, wondering if quantum hypnosis healing therapy, or QHHT, as developed by Dolores Cannon, was really helpful. It certainly helped a lot of people kind of enter into that meditative state or hypnotic state. But found that there was a lot of imagination, a lot of creativity that came into that from my team. We've talked about this before. And so a lot of people end up getting a bit confused. So I find that actually in the waking state A lot of people can work through some of the issues that they're trying to work through in the hypnotic state. So I think it was well intentioned, but I don't think my team was saying the results, the definitive results weren't there across a large part of the population. But certainly meditation helps with centering. I don't meditate, but you don't have to meditate to speak with your guides and angels. We always make that clear. 63, Sterling and team. What did the military generals and admirals really think of 45s and speeches in Quantico, Virginia this past week? They understand the country is now in a fight to save democracy, and there's a lot of back end meetings going on, and you'll see the result of all this public. And I'll be very careful what I say about all this, but they understand that the writing is on the wall, and there's a real threat to democracy, and population needs to do something. Okay. 62, will 45 be arrested for treason in the future, resulting from what will take place with the meeting of the military leadership on September 30th? Will we ever know what was discussed? So this is a little bit of a timed question here, but it's been created earlier in the week. I don't see 45 being arrested, let's say, for treason based on the meeting that occurred this week, but based on a number of other historical facts and activities that went on with offshore countries. So not directly related to the meeting. And yes, by and large, we know what was discussed at the meeting, the call for allegiance to a leader, which is not in line with the Constitution per se. There are no dictators in U.S. Constitution. So yeah, we principally know what's in there, but the answer to the question here is that arrest for treason or treason charges won't be driven just by that military meeting. 61, hi Sterling and Linda. Will Chelsea Clinton run for political office? And if she does and wins, will she serve democracy with integrity? Yes, 100%. I see she's going to run for political office. She'll absolutely serve with integrity. I think right now, a little bit of like going ahead, kicking and screaming, but I see 100% she's going to run for political office, successfully get in. I don't see exactly what office is right now. It may, in fact, be House of Representatives or something here, but she's actually going to be very successful. 60, in 2025, ongoing efforts in Congress, including the proposed Major Richard Starr Act, H.R. 2102, and the Disabled Veterans Tax Termination Act, H.R. 333, aim to expand access to concurrent receipt, or CR, which allows eligible military retirees to receive both their full military retired pay and VA disability compensation without the VA waiver reducing the retirement pay. There appears to be a provision in Project 2025 plan that would negatively affect or impact veterans who are disabled and have retired from service. The recommendation specifically appears to address concurrent receipt, which allows military retirees with a disability rating of 50% or more to receive full military retirement pay as a result of their VA disability compensation. Do you see this being implemented? If so, will it be reversed after 45's removal? I do see it going into effect, but here again, for some reason, it kind of unravels and gets returned back to status quo around the beginning of 2026. I see movement in the 45 administration long before the beginning of 2026. Remember, there's always a lag effect in the laws that are put into place. So I do see this having an effect here, for, let's say, for a number of months, gets put into play, and then getting retracted and restored so that veterans receive all their full benefits. 59. There's been a great deal of concern regarding suggestions from the 45 administration in regards to managing, treating, or generally dealing with people with disabilities, autism, mental health conditions, etc. Are things like wellness farms or autism camps something that this community should be concerned about? No, I see it being talked about, but I do not see it ever coming to fruition. So they might even propose a facility in some city, but it does not appear that it comes to fruition. 58. What is going to happen to MTG or Marjorie Taylor Greene since she has come out against 45 for the release of the Epstein files? And she wrote a detailed message to the public stating that she's not suicidal. And if anything should happen to her, take note of this statement. I see she's going to continue to receive like serious threats, but I don't see threat or bodily harm. So I don't see, I see her not being availed of these actions, and I see her actually becoming a strong voice for survivors around all of this, right? Around the Epstein files. So yeah, so in a way, she's helping here. 57. Mike Johnson is refusing to swear in Representative-elect, is it Adelita Grijalva, looks like, who won her race for the Arizona 7th Congressional District. She will be the 218th and final signature needed on discharge petition to force a floor vote in the House on releasing the Epstein files. What will happen? It appears she's going to be sworn in very shortly here. So I'm not keeping a track of the calendar, maybe like by October 7th or something. Looks like she'll be sworn in. It looks like that vote's going to move ahead on the Epstein files. Looks to me like it's going to move ahead. Okay. 56. Will the House Speaker contest all House elections in 26 that are closely decided and thereby refuse to seat them in an attempt to keep the majority? If so, how will this play out? I don't see this playing out as a successful strategy. I see it being discussed. It doesn't look like it actually, was able, you can put something off for like days or a week or something here, but looks like eventually that it will all come to pass, that the correct elected officials will get sworn in. 55, will there be electronic interference in the upcoming midterm elections? Yes, to some extent, but only covering maybe a small percentage, a very small percentage of the infrastructure. Okay, a lot of it's been uncovered. A lot of the electronic election interference technology has been uncovered and is being addressed real time. 54. Now that 45 has made it clear to his generals he wants to use our military against our cities, what will the generals do next? What is their recourse if they are against this illegal use of force? I see they're going to quietly reconvene in the background and develop some strategies to help save democracy. But here again, that's all I'm going to reveal at this time, because I think it's important to maintain, actually, to keep all the information as safe as possible. Okay. 53. What do you see for Australia over the next few years? Will it follow the lead of the US and move into a more divisive society? I do see that Australia is going to go through the same cycle the U.S. is. It's already started. So kind of more of a radical contingent society, one that's not focused on, say, human rights and diversity. And this is going to be kind of an issue here, another 8 to 10 years for Australia. And that's going to come back around. Kind of the pendulum's going to swing back and forth. So it's kind of following along the lines of what the U.S. is going through, and other parts of the world, like parts of Europe as well. 52, will we evolve to embrace natural and more regenerative medicine and effectively achieve wellness from a standpoint of healing the causes of disease instead of using drugs to treat symptoms only? Yes, so we've covered this a number of times on these shows, but, CRISPR genetic engineering actually takes effect at the cellular level of the body. So it actually does, cellular correction. Not only the cells, let's say, that mutate, that can cause disease, but then to create repair cells, help them then restore what the body needs. So yes, now they're talking about natural, more regenerative medicine. I'll tell you that maybe it's not natural in the sense that what's natural in the sense is at the cellular level, okay, of the body. And we'll use genetic engineering. You're also going to do things like tissue engineering and a 3D printing of biological organs. So that's coming here over the next decade too. So that is kind of the strategy. That's the way the medical profession is going to start moving. 51, will there be an overhaul in the way the prison and youth detention centers are managed? Yes, but not until the 2032 presidential election cycle. 50, Well, the extraterrestrial groups that serve to protect our planet and us from the human. Okay, I would say, well, the ET groups that serve to protect our planet from protect us from the human false flag ET invasion. So I don't see any such false flag ET invasion. There are groups around the world that will try to create some havoc around full disclosure, but I don't see a false flag ET event, which I think is the nature of this question here. 49, a researcher at Portland State University expressed concern over the critical energy hub, storage containers with jet fuel, gasoline, other hazardous materials built prior to seismic codes that are essentially built on what could be liquefied sand if the Cascadia subduction zone earthquake reaches to Portland, Oregon, causing these toxic containers to spill. The researcher warns a spill could create toxic plumes, create a toxic inhalation hazard, which could be both lethal and hazardous if gases linger. He also warns about fires from jet fuel gasoline. Does your team see these two added hazards coming to pass anytime soon in the Portland, Oregon area? I do. Within the next 1 to 2 years here, I see this is going to be a factor. A large earthquake in the area around the subduction zone. And I do see that these hazardous chemicals are going to be compromised. Now, what I do see is that I see government and agencies right now putting in safety guidelines. Not going to be able to take care of the hazardous spill, but like safety guidelines for early warning systems, evacuation, people evacuating people. So I see a lot around like preparedness around evacuations and early warning systems, but not necessarily cleanup. Cleanup in this area is actually going to take decades here. So yeah, I do see this as an issue coming up over the next 1 to 2 years. 48, hybrid warfare is defined by Frank Hoffman in 2007 as the emerging simultaneous use of multiple types of warfare by flexible and sophisticated adversaries. I live in Denmark. Will there be a lot of hybrid wars? In effect, they've already kind of started with drone incursions. This person's asking about Denmark. So if you look at hybrid warfare has already started. So it's assaults on network infrastructure, drone technology, a lot of cyber warfare. It's already started. And I think this person's asking, will there be a lot of hybrid wars? Yes. I mean, the future of a lot of warfare will be cyber warfare in conjunction with using AI technology. They can use AI for good or for bad, as well as a lot of drone technology. So yes, hybrid cyber warfare is already starting and it will be around. 47, at the moment, the European Union is being provoked by drones and Russian fighter jets entering EU airspace. Are they from Russia? Would these incidents escalate towards a war? Yes, we touched on this on prior shows. These actually, we're talking about drones here. Yeah, the drones themselves are actually they're based from Iran and Russia. So I think there's technology coming from both areas here. It's provocation, not going to start a world war, but it's going to start some isolated conflicts in these areas. And I do see the EU and various capacities shooting down these drones. 46, when we're on the other side, please describe how we will look or appear in human form or a ball of energy. So we look any way we want to look. And I talk about this all the time. A lot of people, if you passed away as an adult, many people shave like 20 years off themselves. You can look any way you want. I've actually seen, males cross over. They want to appear female on the other side, vice versa, female on male. I always tell people, take a good look at that movie, What Dreams May Come, with Robin Williams. The first half of the movie is a great depiction of the kinds of the ways things interact in heaven. Whenever I look at heaven, whenever I jump over or talk to millions of entities on the other side, a lot of similarities. And that movie was channeled, right? Now, the first half of the movie, I think, is very representative. The second half of the movie is for entertainment purposes only. No such thing as purgatory or hell. You go through a life review. But so look at the first half of the movie. kind of use that as a basis. But you can look any way you want to. I do not see individuals looking at like balls of light. Now, many times when people try to show themselves on this side to family members, they have a family member that crosses over, they may show themselves as an orb. It's very common. It's an easy thing to do. So that's true. 45. They've indicated there are many different levels in heaven. So how do souls get assigned to levels? By number of incarnations, lessons learned, or what's the process? Also, why can souls from higher levels go down to visit souls in lower levels, but not vice versa? So there are thousands of levels in the heaven dimension. It's all about soul evolution, reincarnations, the things you do here. You know, it's not just based on the number, the quantity of incarnations. It's based on kind of what you do. There are individuals that have had maybe less than 100 reincarnations, but, in some respects, they help save the world. And that represents a higher level of soul evolution when you go to the other side. So it's true that individuals on higher levels can come down levels, but if you're on lower levels, very difficult. You can go up a few levels, but you can't go up thousands of levels. So there's limitation to what you can do in terms of the elevation of your soul energy. And yes, it's based on your life path, what you accomplished, number of reincarnations, many factors. 44, will Ukraine ever be in NATO and the European Union? I see both occurring within just a couple of years here. So 1 to 2 years here for NATO. Looks like once everything settles down, looks like both NATO and part of the EU, believe it or not. 43, will there be a non-invasive cure for eye floaters in the near future? I'm not a doctor, but I see this as a harmless condition that's very annoying. I get it. I'm not a doctor. But I get there's going to be like sound or ultrasonic techniques, maybe like a set of glasses you put on the next few years here that somehow shake apart or dilute. So it looks to me like it's a sonic or a sound technology coming that looks like it's a form of glasses you would wear like in a doctor's office, and then that will help. So a few years out for that. 42. Do you see that in order to eliminate U.S. national debt, the 45 administration may seize money from personal bank accounts and personal 401k plans and hide these actions under the false premise of U.S. financial reform? Don't see this is going to take place anytime in the near future. No, I do see it being discussed, but I don't see outright theft, 401ks and personal bank accounts. I don't see that happening. No. There are certain credit institutions that will come under challenging times, but not like a massive disruption and stealing of personal bank accounts or 401ks. No. 41. What do you see the Supreme Court looking like in the future? Will it be expanded? Will there be a criteria by which to aid in order to stay in the Supreme Court? And will there be term limits? I see eventually as we get past the 2032 election cycle, presidential election cycle, actually going to be something like 4 justices added. So that'll bring it from 9 to 13. And I do see a lot of people transitioning out of the Supreme Court long before that. Almost with it's really a lot of what's supposed to occur this year. It's interesting that's been held up. That's that kind of free will, speed, scope, and scale effect. But starting next year, it looks like there's going to be some departures on the Supreme Court, but there'll eventually be 4 additional justices on the Supreme Court. By the way, I'm just being reminded, a lot of the justices that are going to be leaving are going to leave because of bribery, ethics violations, even some treason. Interesting, even looks like 1 or 2 of the justices are going to be caught up in something involving treason. 40. Do ETs have animal species on their planets? If so, what would their role be or purpose? They have the same role. Animals have the same role here on Earth as they do with extraterrestrials. So they're highly evolved. They teach individuals love, unconditional love. That's one aspect that a lot of animals bring down is a factor of unconditional love. It's always hard to understand for humanity, but even in extraterrestrial environments, animals help to achieve balance. They look at animals or pets a little differently, extraterrestrials. They don't I would say they respect them, but they don't coddle them the same way maybe humanity does. Okay. So not sleeping in their same bed, those kinds of things. And nothing wrong with that. I'm saying extraterrestrials, they perceive animals or pets just a little differently, but they respect the unconditional love factor. 39. Will Marco Rubio ever face any consequences or accounting for his cruel treatment of immigrants, both legal and illegal? He has canceled visas of foreign students merely for their speech, for writing an op ed, sent a legal permanent resident back to his country, now canceled the visa of the Colombian president. I don't see any significant jail time, but I see a complete like destruction and demolition of his political career as we get out to like 2028. I don't know what election cycle he's on, but for some reason I'm getting something around 2028. There's like a demolition of his whole political career. So don't see jail time though. 38. It was last week when CBS News reported that a branch of the National Archives admitted it had released a mostly unredacted version of New Jersey Democratic governor nominee Mickey Sherrill's military records to Nicholas DeGorio, looks like Gregorio, an ally of Citarelli, looks like. Okay, the documents include her social security number, other personal information. Will this action affect Mickey Sherrill's position in the race? I don't see it's going to have a long-term effect, a short-term effect. And it may have something to do with, I don't know, when she was going through military school or academy, may have been like, some shenanigans with exams or something. Didn't look like she was involved, but I think somebody's trying to throw mud at the wall and say she was involved with exam or cheating, and it looks like there's no truth to that. So it's like a short-term effect. It's like throwing mud at the wall, but long-term, it does not look like it's going to have a very strong negative effect on her campaign. 37. Last month, I was sitting in my living room and had a sudden thought to look out the window. It was dark. I saw a black triangular-shaped craft coming with colored lights on the edge. As I went to the window, it vanished within a few seconds. What did I see? In this case, what I get, whoever asked this question, this is a reverse engineered military aircraft. So they actually utilize technology acquired from other extraterrestrial UAPs, reverse engineered it a little more crudely, but looks like you saw reverse engineered military aircraft. 36. How do you reply to someone who thinks psychic mediums are not connected to the spirit world, not real, are false prophets, as in the Bible? Would you connect Christianity and spirituality, for example, and say that in both we believe in an unseen entity? So first off, I think anybody that's credible, you have to encourage everyone to be skeptical of anything you see or hear or take in. That's our human construct. Be analytical, be skeptical. Remember, I think there's a lot of examples around the world of individuals that, small children that can describe their prior lifetime, how they died in World War II or whatnot. They're 5 years old, but they know the name and what happened and where their plane went down. There's a lot of things in the world. I think you have to keep an open mind. I also think that you have to understand that there's 20 trillion galaxies like the Milky Way, right? 20 trillion. I know people say 2 trillion. My team always tells me it's 20 trillion. That's a factor of 10 more. But there's a lot we don't understand. There is a metaphysical realm. There is a one source, the one force. But everyone has to come to it by their own means. I will say as a footnote comment here regarding the Bible. A lot of people do quote the Bible. I'm not religious per se. I believe in the one source of spirituality. Spirituality is not religion. But, the Bible went through thousands of revisions and versions by thousands of interpreters. So to say that is a definitive resource of everything in the universe, the way the universe works, there again, I think you have to keep an open mind. Last but not least, trust your intuition and anything you get exposed to in life. We all have a gut level reaction, but those are your angels and guides working with you. So I always encourage everybody, be skeptical, take the information in, evaluate what you see. It's always good to get exposed to, near-death experience videos. Look at some of those. Look at some reincarnation videos of small children. You'll start to get kind of a sense that the universe is a larger place than we see. So hopefully that helps whoever asked this question. I think you have to keep an open mind, use your gut level reaction, use your intuition, do your research, always be skeptical, and put in the work to validate. 35, do you or your guide see any evidence being found at the Epstein Ranch, Zorro Ranch in New Mexico? I do. It's like 10,000 acres at this ranch or something, and I do see evidence coming about. I don't know whether there's things buried at the ranch. Yeah, they're saying, my team's saying there are things buried at the ranch that are like evidentiary. So yeah, it looks like, and I think there are new owners. I don't know anything about this ranch really. Looks like there's new owners. Whoever the new owners are more agreeable or amenable to allowing authorities to access evidence. Looks like there's evidence coming within this year. 34, U.S. federal civilian workers have been living on the edge for 9 months now. Many have served their whole careers and have advanced degrees and are highly experienced in their fields. With the current government shutdown, there are more threats to cull the civilian workforce. What does your team see in the immediate future for these workers? When or will they ever be able to get their jobs back? Here I see about 8 to 10% of the workforce, being affected here, according to what's going on over this 9 months. But then it looks like, again, a lot of the workers get rehired, restored, like restoring the same people. So it's almost like there's a mechanism here to like lay these people off. I know even some are going out into retirement, but then it's like the resources are needed, the expertise are needed, they're brought back. So a lot of people getting their same jobs back. So I see it. It's like a boomerang effect here. 33, when Edgar Casey connected to higher self, is that the same as connecting to primary guides and angels? So for reference only, higher self is not a term that the millions of entities that I communicate with outside ever use. The reason being that it almost disassociates your soul, who you are, your soul DNA with you. The higher self, it's you. There's no discernment between the two, so they never use that term. But when you connect, when you use what's called the creative mind center, and you connect to the other side, to angels and guides, that's you just opening up the cellular telephone to the other side. It's still you. It's your soul, spirit, soul DNA. So my team never uses the term higher self. When you connect with the waking state, that's you. That's your soul DNA. So they never use that term because for some reason, a lot of people find that confusing. Okay, it's not me, it's my higher self. What does my higher self say? No, it's all you. Okay, hopefully that helps. 32, are there certain music, songs, or frequencies we can listen to that will help us connect with our guides while meditating? So funny enough, I always reference I don't meditate, but meditation is a wonderful way to center yourself, ground yourself, relax yourself. I get it. Never have to meditate to talk to your guides and angels. I would tell you, whoever asked this question, whatever works for you, there isn't a specific frequency. In the same way that music resonates with a lot of people, you have a lot of polyphonic frequencies, mixed, overtone frequencies, fundamental frequencies in music. And, look for the type of music that resonates with you. Maybe gives you a cold chill, relaxes you. But that's the right kind of sound or music to have around you. The stuff that relaxes you, makes you feel relaxed. If you get a cold chill, all the better when you listen to that music. 31, have there ever been physical variations within individual ET species that have resulted in classification systems similar to that of race among Homo sapiens sapiens? If so, have those classifications led to strife or division for that species? ET groups don't divide up by race. There are variations among extraterrestrial groups, but they've long since millions of years ago evolved through that. And that's because many extraterrestrial groups understand the nature of the universe, the soul, the one source, the one force, who we are, how we evolve, how you move through inner dimensions. So a lot of the things I find, to put it straightforwardly here and bluntly, humanity looks at just the outside. It's like looking at the outside of a car without understanding what the car is all about, what's inside the car, what engine, what features does it have. So it's a very humanity has a very superficial way of looking at itself that extraterrestrials have moved far beyond that. So no, they don't have the same kind of race division. I do see a lot of extraterrestrial groups. They do have squabbles over territory, not necessarily who you are, but territories in the universe. There's some of that going on. 30. Migraines appear to be a mystery to the medical profession or professionals. There are many ways to treat them temporarily, but no one has found a permanent cure. And your guides say what migraine sufferers have in common and or why they appear to be hypersensitive to a variety of energetic triggers. I'm not a doctor, but when I get around migraines here, when I ask my guides here real time, is like two factors. One is food or food additives, so preservatives or things in food could be a trigger. The second is circulation or lack of circulation in certain areas. I think the food element you can address, right? You can look at different types of foods or preservatives and pin them down. Natural foods are going to be the best. But the second thing, circulation. So now circulation can be arrived in a number of ways. There's even, red light therapies, that's infrared technology, not a doctor. But there are ways of increasing circulation in the body that also can help. As far as triggers go, yeah, sure, anything that raises your anxiety level, puts you in a state, a hyper state, can certainly exacerbate the problem. But I'm seeing those two factors, food, additives, that kind of thing. And then secondly, focusing on different types of circulation, blood circulation. And in fact, there are certain foods, again, not a doctor, but that can increase blood circulation. So those two factors here for me are coming around my team. They're asking me to share that with everybody here. 29, will 45 successfully pull off his 20-point Israel-Gaza peace plan? If so, will it last? I don't see the current 20-point peace plan going ahead. I see it providing kind of a foundation, but I see many other countries coming together. Even some Middle Eastern countries coming together here that are really going to help with this. Qatari government looks like is going to be very instrumental still in this area. Qatari government, as well as some other European countries. So the 20-point plan does not appear it's going to be the factor that's going to do it. In many times I've seen here the last week or two that a lot of countries are going to start coming together to support the Palestinian state and the two-state solution. So this is all part of what's in process right now. 28. Was it extraterrestrials or interdimensional beings that appeared at a Bayside Mall in Florida on January 1st, 2024? So we've actually covered this before, but this was a laser projection. This was a hoax. So this is not extraterrestrial based at the Bayside Mall. This was a special effects created laser projected image or images, plural. 27. It looks like myasthenia gravis is a condition that happens when communication between nerves and muscles breaks down. This causes muscles to feel weak, get tired quickly. This condition may affect many of the muscles you control, called voluntary muscles. Certain muscle groups are more commonly affected than others. These include muscles in the face, throat, arms, and legs. Will there be a cure for this neuromuscular condition in the future? I do see here again, I see a breakthrough coming just a few years here using genetic engineering, but then like the medications, more like the year 2035. So that's like 10 years out. It looks like whatever's going on here, like it is a cellular breakdown, and then they actually isolate in animals or mice. They're actually able to replicate it in mice and then move out to humanity, humans, and do some testing. But I should tell my team saying by the year 2030, which is 5 years from now, there's some European countries that are actually make major breakthroughs in this area. So for some reason, Europe may have a jump here in this particular area. Again, not a doctor, but that's what they're telling me to share with everybody here. 26. When my son was a baby and then as a toddler, he would scream and refuse to go into his room at various times. One night, when I was nursing him at 2 o'clock a.m., when he was about 6 months old, a corner located baby foam dresser adhesive detached and flew across the room. The next night, the dryer door opened at the same time. Now he is 9 years old and we are in a new home. At times, he still does not want to sleep in his room and sleeps with his brother. Can you explain what's going on? This is a female relative of yours. It could be the mother or the grandparent level, but they're coming around. They want to be acknowledged. They're actually trying to help. Something here they're trying to correct for too. It's like something that occurred when they were here and didn't get to say everything. This is a female. Looks like it's on the maternal side to me for you, whoever this is. So I would say reach out to her, acknowledge her. Your son's sensitive to spirits on the other side. And this is somewhat of an apparition coming through, and acknowledge her, say, love you, we bless you, all is good. Kind of release her, not stuck, but family members will come around if they feel like there's some unfinished business. 25, Fae or FAE, a shortened term for Fae folk, is a broad umbrella term for a wide variety of supernatural beings found in folklore, particularly Celtic, German, and Slavic traditions that are separate from but often overlap with mythological gods. These entities, also known as fair folk, Folk, or fairies, are often portrayed as capricious, otherworldly beings with an ET sense of logic inhabiting a separate realm or the wild spaces of the human world. Examples include brownies, pixies, elves, banshees, all with unique characteristics and varying degrees of interaction with humans. Are the Fae real? If so, are they still on the earth? So these are also in some cases referred to as like elementals. They're guardians of certain regions. I get it. This person's going through elves and fairies, but a lot of times these are what they call elementals, and elementals sometimes are tied to the earth elements, right? Fire, water, that kind of a thing. But my team's indicating that some elementals can inhabit kind of a humanoid looking space or humanoid looking form. So this gets back to yeah. So they're real. The question is, are these real? Yes, they're real. Been around for millions of years. More regional in various areas. A lot in Europe, even parts of Australia, Canada, some U.S. Not as much U.S., which is interesting, or North America per se. But yeah, they're real. 24. The de minimis exemption is a long-time U.S. trade rule that allowed goods valued at under $800 to enter the U.S. without paying duties or taxes and enjoyed expedited clearance procedures. Will the U.S. De minimis exemption be reinstated? It has caused huge problems for small businesses exporting to the U.S., as well as tariffs being charged that are more often higher than the value of the original item ordered. I do see it being reinstated by early 2026. So a lot of activity around early 2026, which would give you an indication things are going to happen around the tail end of the year here in 2025 that gives rise to a lot of normalcy coming back into society, into government, into tariffs being pulled back. But it looks like around the beginning of 2026, this de minimis exemption gets put back into place. 23, you have indicated on prior shows that many hybrid are principally created in laboratory environments aboard mother ET ships. This leads me to wonder if some human abductions may have actually been used to create these hybrids. In some cases, this is a form of biological harvesting. So it's not, let's say, the killing of individuals, but biological harvesting. Yes, some abductions have been involved in that. Remember, some families, if you go back in their lineage, there are extraterrestrial groups that are following certain families in their lineage. And a lot of individuals out there that have had exposure to extraterrestrials and UAPs and UFOs, they understand this. Going to say, well, my grandmother, my great grandmother, my great great grandfather had, an experience. So, so it's part of biological harvesting. In some respects, it's a much milder form than what's done with cattle. When you see the cattle mutilations around the world, that is a form of biological harvesting as well, and it does go to contribute towards creation of hybrids. 22, will there ever be a cure for bile duct cancer and somehow be diagnosed before it hits stage 4? I already see that they're creating what I call accurate cellular models for this type of cancer. Not a doctor, a medical professional, but I'm hearing the term, they're creating models of what this is all about. And then genetically, they're going to engineer a good solution. This comes up a lot on the show here. We are in a breakthrough phase in medical research around genetic engineering. This will be the Lego, the building blocks of so many things. I clear medications for this within 10 to 12 years from now. So this is bile duct cancer. Diagnosis looks like within 3 years here is going to be highly improved using artificial intelligence technology. So be able to look at images in different forms and correlate across trillions of pieces of data. So there's like diagnostics going to happen in 3 years, and then really good medications within 10 to 12. So yeah, it's all coming. 21. Last week you explained that Homo sapiens sapiens were early versions of humanoids placed in the areas on Earth by ETs. When do you see this being taught in schools and universities and become common knowledge? About 3 decades, but it could be starting in 2 decades and then 3 decades. Remember, full disclosure is going to turn everything on its head just within 1 to 2 years here. Full disclosure of extraterrestrials, their role in the universe. That'll put religion on its head. That'll put the evolutionary discussions on its head. But in terms of being taught in schools, universities, it looks like it's about 2 decades out for me, something of that nature. 20, could you please do a reading on whether the food and medical supplies aboard the global flotilla will make it safely to Palestine shores and provide relief to the Palestinian people in need? Yes, it appears the supplies are safe. Some of them may gotten spoiled. I don't know what's on the flotilla. So some small percentage getting spoiled or ruined, but I mean, they'll figure that out. But I see the food looks like our supply is safe. It looks like it's going to get to the people that need it in Gaza. 19, is it true that EM is trying to take over the world using various technology systems, for example, Starlink? Well, he's not going to be successful in, say, taking over the world. So that's an extrapolation of a lot of things going on. He is highly connected to trying to harvest data mining and actually develop mechanisms for controlling a lot of data, mining a lot of data, a lot of personal data, which will affect elections around the world. So that's true, but not taking over the world. He's trying to use all this to leverage elections. But remember I said in roughly about a decade, he's going to get out of that business. We'll get out of the business of trying to leverage elections. 18, who will fill Mitch McConnell's seat? Will it be a Democrat? I see a new Democratic candidate will take that position eventually, and it's going to surprise everyone. So somebody nobody expects, or somebody coming forward, but it'll be a Democratic candidate. 17, will the big money Christian churches ever be required to pay U.S. taxes, and will they be instructed and limited on pushing politics within their services? I see by the year 2030, a lot of large-scale mega churches will be required to pay taxes. I do see that by the year 2030. I don't see them being prevented from discussing what they want to discuss under free speech. I know this is a very controversial topic, but my angels and guides are saying this will not be prevented. It'll be some sort of a free speech thing going on here, but they'll be starting to be required. The mega churches above a certain dollar volume will be required to pay federal income taxes by the year 2030. 16, can our consciousness experience more than one life at a time? So no, not in the physical body during like normal waking state. Now, when you astral travel, you actually disconnect the soul from the body. Yes, there you can experience other dimensions. You can actually experience the heaven dimension. You're not dead. It's not a near-death experience, but astral travel allows you to become interdimensional, and by that theme, you can actually see other lifetimes. Very true. 15. If asked, can our angels and spirit guides keep other deceased people that we did not feel comfortable with while they're in life away from us? Yes, absolutely. Your angels and guides, that's job number one, is to make sure that you maintain the best life possible. If that means keeping energy away from you that wasn't productive, wasn't helpful, absolutely. Yeah, they're on your team. A lot of times I refer to our angels and guides as like your football team, for example. Now, many times people, they're on the football field all by themselves, and their angels and guides are up in the stands eating popcorn, and they don't invite their team down to the field. That's part of always asking your guides and angels to get involved. But yes, they can certainly help you, keep you on the right track, keep you motivated, and keep people away from you that aren't helpful to you. 14, I just saw Nathan Taylor from Election Truth Alliance talking about election fraud, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, 2024 elections. Do you see his claims as true? And will he and his organization be instrumental in exposing the election fraud that already took place? Yes, these claims are true. My team has been talking about it ever since November of last year. And this will be one of several organizations that already are going to be instrumental in moving the truth out there. 13, is the Earth school unique in the universe, or are there other planets that either function like Earth as a place of learning for our souls or are home to other technically limited species? So the Earth is a very unique place. It's very unique in terms of the combination of the types of entities that live here, plants, animals, humans, races, the types of things we experience here, the environment, the atmospheric effects, the things that occur here, the oceans, the plant life, right, the marine life. So very, very unique. There are other areas in the universe where individuals are working through technology challenges, but they're different than what they're doing here on Earth. Most everybody is more advanced in other areas, other galaxies than we are here on Earth. So they're already utilizing, telepathic communications, for example. That's where they're starting from, but then trying to learn about the universe. So yeah, in some respects, Homo sapiens sapiens here on Earth, this is a very unique place and a little bit maybe more, let's say, technically challenged than other areas of the universe. That's true. 12. Is it safe to astral travel or experience lucid dreams? Can someone get stuck in another dimension while astral traveling? No. So when you astral travel, you do disconnect your soul from your body, and a lot of people figuratively see a long silver cord connecting you. That's just an image. That's not really a silver cord connecting you, but you always get pulled back into your body. Your angels and guides do not allow you to stay on the other side. It is safe, but it's almost like if you've never done astral travel, you might want to work with a professional or a coach. It's just like any new experience. You kind of want to make sure you're grounded and steady and have someone that can help guide you through the experience. But lucid dreaming is a little different, right? Lucid dreaming is kind of an in-between state. It's a lower state, if you will. You're not disconnecting your soul from your body during a lucid dream. You're kind of disconnecting your logical mind a little bit, allowing it to kind of experience the other side. But that's not the same as astral travel. 11, who made extraterrestrials? Did the higher power make them and have their own universal force? No, the one force, the one source that exists everywhere in the universe is responsible for the creation of everything we see and experience, including extraterrestrial groups. 10, during his address to the United Nations, 45 made it very plain regarding his clear contempt for the world community and specifically Europe. Do you see him trying or succeeding with drawing the U.S. from NATO? I do see he's going to try, but it won't be a successful exit from NATO. So even if it ends up being a temporary exit, looks like it'll quickly be restored. So not familiar with the exact process or procedure, but my team's saying they may try to disconnect. Go, well, look, we're disconnected, and then a very short time later, months later, we're reconnected. So it's more like pomp and circumstance sort of a thing than it is practical, because we're always still going to be a member of NATO. 9. When will we see a move away from the United States reliance on automobiles as the primary form of transportation to alternate forms of transportation? What forms will they be? So if you look at Tom Cruise movies, for example, this is just a peek into the sci-fi area, but it's real. If you look at the like Minority Report or Oblivion, personal transportation's always going to be a factor. Yes, it'll be airborne. They'll be like flying cars, but I think those two movies are a good reference if people want to look at kind of what transportation is going to look like in the future. These are vehicles that will not only be airborne but can go up sides of buildings and have gravitational systems. So even if they have to go upside down through a tunnel, you don't feel it. They reorient themselves. But yeah, it always going to be personal forms of transportation, but a lot of it will be airborne. Okay. 8. Do you ever see a reconciliation between Prince William and Prince Harry? Yes, in a sense, but it's always going to be a cold relationship because of all the water under the bridge, and including what was it, the book Spare that was put out by Prince Harry. So a lot of this is going to create kind of a cold environment, be somewhat of a reconciliation, but always a little frozen. Okay. 7, I believe you've indicated that we can interact in some ways with extraterrestrials outside using our smartphones. How do we do this in reality? Well, you simply get to an area that doesn't have a lot of city light pollution. So you can see the up sky, you can see the stars. You can point your phone, your mobile phone with a camera on to the sky. Remember, mobile phones are sensitive to the infrared spectrum and your human eye's not. And you can simply just call out, say, look, if any extraterrestrials out there want to communicate, flash your light. Sometimes it may take 20 minutes to half an hour for that to happen. I know it seems like a long time, but people that successfully have done this, you find that once you can find an object in the sky, they'll acknowledge you because telepathically they communicate. And then you can say, if that's really you, like flash twice, and you'll see them flash twice. And then all of a sudden, maybe they'll exit at at light speed across the sky and they're gone. So you can actually interact with them. This is all part of a rollout strategy by extraterrestrial groups to get humanity more comfortable with what's out there. There are many people around the world that do this on a regular basis, go out and communicate with the night sky. So this is all part of a rollout, a gradual rollout so that humanity is comfortable. Okay, 6 in the countdown. Are there ever such things as evil spirits who can cause some harm to humans, or am I watching too many scary movies? Same as if one starts doing tarot, can you cause negative energy to come your way? There are no real evil spirits per se, but there are prankster spirits, and prankster spirits will absolutely waste your time. They'll give you superfluous information. They'll give you nonsensical information. Always a good idea to say a quick protective prayer. You want to stand in supreme protective light, and only spirits that are of the light come through. And if there are any spirits here that are not of the light, be cast back into the light. Quick protective prayer is all necessary, but yeah, you don't want to attract prankster spirits. They will completely waste your time and cause confusion. Prankster spirits love to come through Ouija boards. That's why I kind of never recommend people use Ouija boards. It's almost like throwing, a sorority party or a frat party and inviting everybody over and just come through. 5, will 45 bankrupt the U.S. with all the unauthorized spending that he and his administration are currently doing? No, not going to bankrupt the U.S., but certainly take, the monetary value and that through the car wash. So you can see a lot of cycles going on, kind of going through the financial car wash with a lot of cycles, but not bankrupt the U.S., no. Number 4, hi Sterling, Linda, and team. I recently had a reading done by a psychic tarot card reader. It fell off. How can someone who gets a reading be able to discern when a reading is true or false? By exactly the way you felt. Make sure that if the reading doesn't resonate with you, move on. It is always best to communicate with our angels and guides. I always say this to everybody: in your logical state, in your waking state, learn how to communicate with your angels and guides. That's the clairaudient gift that we're all born with. All children have it very easily when they're young, up to 10 years of age. But always make sure that any information that comes through should support love, your growth, those sorts of things. If you hear anything that sounds off, and it sounds like negative. There's people can figure out what that means. Overall, somebody's telling you something that's hurtful, that's negative, and I'm not saying that if you hear something that's good for your personal growth, take it in stride, but it has to resonate with you. Now, if you get a cold chill, a lot of times it's your guides validating that information. If you don't get those things, move on. So make sure it resonates with you. That's the best way to tell whether information you're receiving is meant for you. And number three, and number two, and number one, I always take notes before I start these shows, so I'm going to read those back to you. Number three, do your extraterrestrial friends have anything they want to share with us this week? Rest assured, we have now prevented several major military actions worldwide, and this has maintained the current stability in the Middle East as well as Ukraine and Russia. We will continue these efforts going forward and look forward to announcing our arrival in the coming year. Two, what do you see coming up for next week? Prominent politician's death in the UK. New progress for peace talks in the Middle East, with several new countries additionally supporting a Palestinian state and eventual two-state solution. New proposals and progress being made in the areas of Medicare and Medicaid funding coming from several billionaires. New breakthrough in EV battery technology announced at an international symposium and convention. New measles outbreak in several states that requires immediate attention. New evidence that several additional individuals within the White House administration are implicated in the Jeffrey Epstein files. New federal judges' orders against the 45 administration that conflict with very recent Supreme Court rulings. New FAA and international aircraft safety guidelines implemented in light of all the runway collisions and near misses internationally. And number one, do you have anything your guides want to share? Keep the light shining, figuratively speaking, in your window and become the light to the world that shines and inspires others. This is your time to shine. On that note, that concludes the show being recorded today on Saturday, October 4th, 2025, and then posted to all media platforms on Sunday, October 5th, 2025. As always, if you want to join our live streams, I answer a plethora of questions for our Platinum members. You're welcome to join our Platinum membership on YouTube. The join button's on the front page of the YouTube channel, Sterling Psychic Medium, as well as the website, sterlingpsychicmedium.com. On that note, going to send out a lot of goodwill and tremendous love to you and your families. Take care. I will see you all again very soon.